Now, just over a year ago, Liz Owen from Access in St Neots invited me to go round with her, and she showed me all the pitfalls and some of the problems of being disabled in St Neots. Not being able to access a coffee, having to wait outside shops, no ramps, drop curbs, cracked pavements, you name it. It was a nightmare, no disabled parking. Now, that report helped Black Cat Radio win a National Community Radio Award, and it caused quite a stir. Now, a year on, Liz invited me to go back to show me if things have improved or not. That'll be coming up after ZZ Top. I'm here out in the sunshine near Country Fair, back of Waitrose in Iceland, with Liz Owen.
Yes.
Who's in her new super-duper, well-sprung wheelchair. And it's nearly a year ago that we went out on a walk around, and you showed me some of the horrors for people who had mobility issues, just getting around and doing day-to-day things in St Neots. So we thought it'd be a very good time to go back and see if things have improved.
Yes.
Morning, Liz.
Morning.
Are you confident that we're going to see vast changes in the accessibility for people?
Yes, I think so. I know that some of the places that we visited last time certainly have made changes. Some of them I'm not sure, but I guess we'll see. But yeah, it'll be exciting to go and have a look.
If I recall, this was one of the issues, the back of Waitrose. You had to sort of go for about 500 yards around to get to a drop curb. Has that changed?
Well, currently it hasn't. I mean, there is a drop curb further back than where we're standing now, but usually that is blocked by someone parking there. However, the Highways Improvement Scheme, which Stephen Ferguson put together, they are actually funding for better drop curbs around this area, so I think they're putting in a few more further up, so you don't have to wheel in the road. So that's amazing. So that has positively changed. So
that's a positive. We'll start on a positive and we'll go from there. We'll wander off down towards, is it Cross Keys, the place to go through?
It is indeed, yeah.
And now we're just approaching Cross Keys Mews. Very cool is there were a few issues here last year. Can you remember? I think there was one with a shop you couldn't get up the step, even though it had some sort of ramp.
Yeah.
There was one that had a back ramp but didn't tell you that it was there. Have things changed here, do you think? Shall we see?
Yeah, I think we should see. I think things have definitely changed. I don't know exactly, but I think there's 2 shops that have definitely changed.
Oh, right.
Which I know of. Well, actually, no, there's 3. I'll give them 3 because we've got Welch's Bakes, who Mel is amazing. I've been chatting with him over Instagram, and although they don't have a bell, they have a menu online so you can see what you want before. And I've done this twice now, where you kind of wave to them from the door and you can order. So you can pay at the door. So that is a solution. That's like what we call the reasonable adjustments. That's the one. Yes. Yeah. My brain is too early for me. So that's what you call a reasonable adjustment.
So tick for Welsh's Bakeries.
Definitely.
For those reasonable adjustments.
Yes.
So we're doing well so far, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. We're next coming down to Sweet Paradise, which was our actual first recipient of the Project Doorbell Bell.
Oh, right.
Which you can see, which is on outside of the... I'll move over here so we're not in everyone's way. But yeah, we have a Ring doorbell over here.
Oh, yeah, brilliant. It's just the right height as well. Yeah,
my husband actually installed this one for them.
Yeah.
So they have the other receiver inside, so you ring the bell, they know it's for anyone who needs assistance, whether it's a wheelchair user, whether you're here to collect something. That's another thing, because of the age of these buildings and the size inside. So that's why we always say that it's not necessarily whether you need a ramp or not. You may have a teeny tiny shop inside, which is no point getting a wheelchair in.
And just to be clear, Access in St Neots, you haven't got a downer on places that haven't got them, because you're perfectly reasonable to expect that if you've got a house or a shop that dates back to the 17th century, that they probably were not built for modern day problems and issues, and also a lot of them has steps up because of flooding and other issues. So you've got to try and work around, and it's a little bit of give and take on both sides, isn't it? It's a little bit of them, like this one here, you accept that they can't get in the door, but they put a Ring doorbell in, very straightforward. You can use that, they can come to the door and help you out.
Exactly. And the stickers as well go hand in hand with them, so people know it's not just a doorbell for the postman to drop stuff off. It's literally for somebody who's needing help outside and they might not be able to see you, which is sometimes the case, and it's at a height that wheelchair users can use. So yeah.
And just to recap Project Doorbell, you had a dozen of those initially.
10. Yeah.
10 initially.
Yeah. So I've only got 1 or 2 left.
Right.
I have earmarked them for somewhere, but we actually have 2 in this Cross Keys Mews. So with one we're looking at Sweet Paradise, one behind us at Bohemia. They're refurbishing the back, but this is usually where the ramp is that they've got, and the doorbell's actually on the front entrance on the Market Square side, just because that's the main place you'd go. But yeah, there's other businesses that got these.
So Bohemia, I know that they tried to work very hard to try and become more accessible, and I know that I spoke to the manager there who said it wasn't something they thought of when they first went in, but they've since been tried to adjust.
Yeah.
You did mention that the fact that the sticker was on the front and the ramp was at the back.
Yes.
However, there is a ramp and you can get in.
Yeah, it's a brilliant ramp.
Yeah,
really
good ramp.
Yes.
You said there were 3 places in it. Was that the third?
Yes.
Or was there another
that's
one?
the second one. The third on Market Square. Well, not in Cross Keys Mews.
Oh, right, okay.
The third one is floor.
Now it's time to get back to my little sojourn around the St Neots High Street and Town Centre with Liz Owen, and we've made our way to the Market Square.
This is Your Voice with Nigel Pauley on Black Cat Radio.
I'm out with Liz Owen from Access in St Neots to just have a little recap of where we're at with accessibility issues in the town. It's about a year since we did this for the first time. I remember we've avoided so far the drop curb that nearly tipped Liz into me out of her wheelchair. We'll come to that a bit later on. We're in the Market Square, Liz. This is, I know that you had a few issues here last time because of parking and how to get to cars and where the parking places were. We're on the side opposite Greg's, I guess, the well-known bakers, which we didn't mention because
yes, they've got their doorbell and they've moved. So
yes.
I guess if you want to, I can briefly say that they've literally moved next door to the old Lloyds Bank, which is brilliant because it's much more spacious, and although their teething problem was that they didn't move the accessible doorbell over, it just took me going in there and having a word and emailing them, and now it's moved, so it's accessible for everyone. So yeah, it's great.
That's great. when we were in the Market Square, with work is now progressing after first year, we're nearly there. We've just got a few bits which are going to come on to. But what are your impressions of the area that we're at now, just on the bus, opposite the bus stop?
It's lovely, actually. The pavement is so much better because it's A, wider, and B, flat. Because before, when we had the trees, although it was sad to lose the trees, the pavement was so uneven because of the roots going underneath the pavement. And they've obviously replaced the trees, which will grow. And we've got these lovely gardens and the statues. And yeah, so this side so far looks a lot nicer and certainly better accessible.
So we wander through the market and we were heading to Floored by Ian, I think.
We are indeed.
And the big issue you had was disabled parking where they're going. So let's go and see what they've done there.
Yeah.
We've crossed the market and the new slabs certainly seem to be a lot flatter. Now the bit down near Cafe Nero and the Market Cafe, I've got to say, they're still the old slabs, but we're both hoping that they will actually replace them, because you do notice a difference, even as an able-bodied person, walking from the smooth slabs to them. But we're over near Floored by Ian. There are 2 things over here, Liz. One, the disabled bays, and 2, you want to talk about Floored with Ian as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
So, the disabled bays, bit of concern about them, have been from the beginning, because you weren't consulted about them.
Well, yeah, I mean, when they did the plans, I did a bit of a walk around with, it's when I did Stephen Ferguson's walk around for the drop curbs, and we said that the way that they were parking on the plans, it's back-to-back 7 spaces, and we're looking at it now, it's supposed to go along the road, which isn't ideal. I mean, I have a ramp at the back of my car, people have slide ramps as well, and if you get someone parked too close and they don't see your sign, then you're stuck, you can't get in or out your car. And they got rid of all the disabled parking on the Market Square, but they did reallocate it to Priory Lane, which is actually a really good location because it's not that much further away. However, we don't know how many of those are going to be got rid of or staying, and the council have been quite quiet on that. And also, I can't see any work so far of where the disabled bays are going, because the road is level with everything else, so I don't really know how big they'll be.
They have smaller cobbles there, so I assume that's like the pathway, but then they would surely be parking on the pathway, so I like you, I don't quite know where we're going to be at on this, because there's a great big gap there where they put a tree, where you think they might have a pull-in.
Yeah, it's more like a lay-by, I think, rather than parking.
We'll put that down as a possibly, maybe, then, rather than a positive. It's not a negative yet.
No.
However, it's you want to see more details of what's going to happen there.
Yeah, definitely.
We've moved along the Market Square path, and we're now outside Floor by Ian, FBI, and they have a assistance bell at a good height.
Yep.
Well, you wanted to single out Floor by Ian for special mention, Liz.
Yes.
And accessible issues. What is it about here that they've done which has got your attention?
Well, firstly, they were the only business so far with a doorbell that actually came to me and asked, could we please have one? Which was amazing, because otherwise you have a little bit of persuasion to do. And then when we came to actually install the doorbell, Ian had an amazing surprise in that they built a ramp inside the shop, which was like, I couldn't believe. So now if you ring the doorbell and you need to get in, and especially not even just wheelchair use, if you've got mobility issues, they open up this magical door on the side and there's a ramp inside that takes you into the shop, which is just incredible. And Ian's been so lovely and really adapting his shop when, you know, it's not the easiest of places to adapt on the Market Square. So yeah, that's why I think he's amazing.
If you just spin round in your chair, we were talking about disabled bays.
Ooh, yes.
Rather worryingly, there is a pull-in here, but it looks like there's enough room for like 1-2 cars at the max.
Yeah.
And if you have a ramp, I'm rather hoping that's not going to be the disabled bay.
I really I agree. I think, I've got a feeling this is going to be the entrance. I don't know, but this, from looking at the plans, there's another one down there, but that's got bollards. Yeah. So I don't know whether that's going to be an entrance for the traders to get on the Market Square, or whether this is a bay, because the only thing I can think of that's similar is Milton Keynes Theatre have got a similar style where you can get 2 cars maximum, but then if you've got a mobility van, then you're not going to get another car on there. So I would love to see what happens, but the trouble is, as always, it's going to be once it's finished that everyone's like, oh dear, this is wrong, and the council will say it's too late to change it, which is what happened in the plans.
And let's get back to a little trek around town with Liz Owen, and we've reached the notorious place near Santander where we had a bit of a mishap the last time we went. I wonder if they've fixed that paving slab.
This is Nigel Pauley on Black Cat Radio.
Moved down to outside the corner house, just near Santander and the Barbers, and this, Liz, is where you famously hit that drop curb mess there.
Yes.
And nearly tipped your wheelchair into me.
I did.
And I've got to say, it doesn't look like it's changed much, does it?
Thank you. I need the lower side. My little wheels don't cope.
Exactly. There we go.
Yeah, there's another lady
Evidence.
in a wheelchair who has also fallen foul of that bit. Mm-hmm. This hasn't changed at all. In fact, it looks like it's sunk even worse, doesn't it?
It has, and it was mentioned on the highways investments that Stephen Ferguson did, but I am yet to see whether this is going to be done sooner or later, because I do know which ones are going to be done first. I can't say yet because the council haven't approved it. But yes,
down and see what it's like to go down it.
Yeah.
Because you've got your new wheelchair now.
I have. It's slightly better to do curbs. But
this one's that could catch out a smaller wheelchair.
Yeah, and the lady who's just gone past in a mobility scooter, the wheels on those aren't meant for big curves. So
we're now outside Santander. Now this was a brief victory because they put a fantastic new lift in.
Yes.
They made it fully accessible, and they're going to shut
30th
of July.
Yeah.
This must be a bittersweet moment for you, Liz.
It is, because there's a few shops now in St Neots that have put in accessible entrances and then closed down. So the trouble is that whether they keep those things or not, that happened when Lloyd's closed down and Greggs took it over. Although it is level, they got rid of their automatic door, which really annoyed me because it did work. However, Greggs is fine now, they've sorted things out, but it might happen with here. There's no legal thing that says you have to keep in the lift, but whoever buys this building, it's in their best interest to keep the lift because they're expensive things to buy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would suggest they keep it.
We're now outside Pink Rooster, the new charity shop in Church Walk, or rather the back of Pink Rooster. Explain why we're here, Liz.
So, for those that obviously regularly visit, they'll know that Pink Rooster now have a ramp, which you have to request, but they, out of their own money, and they are a charity as well, paid to get a ramp because they're amazing as well. They've got a doorbell from my project doorbell as well. So you ring the bell and they'll come to the back entrance, bring the ramp out, which is quite long, so it's very safe and sturdy. I've tested it quite a few times. And then you can go directly into the shop, which is amazing because Church Walk is notorious for the shops being very high up with big steps. So at the back there's a ramp, and then when we go on the front you'll see the other stuff that they've done out the front as well. So
we're now moved around to the front of Pink Rooster, and what are we looking at here, Liz?
So at the front, although they're closed, they bought a step helper. So basically the step out the front is massive. All of these are quite big.
It's 3 brick high.
Yes, and they've had quite a few people with mobility issues who don't need the ramp to help to get in the shop. So they've bought this extra step. They've also got one of my stickers that say a wheelchair ramp is available because it's not obvious from the front, and also they've provided their own bell because it's better in keeping with the front of the shop. But I do like this charity because they are for mental health and needs, dementia, all that kind of thing, and they're a charity, and yet they've managed to fund their own accessible adaptations, which is amazing as well. So yeah,
back with Liz outside Morrison's. Now you're well known here, Liz. It has been a bone of some contention since before it was Morrison's. It was McCall's and goodness knows what else previously.
Yeah,
with their sticky doors, the doors that wouldn't open, the doors that got you trapped.
Yes.
The leaks, a lack of bell, but I see now that I see a bell, and B, I see a door that seems to keep open.
Yes, it is such a big improvement. So yeah, way back when they were McCall's, we're talking at least 6 or 7 years ago, they had the help bell, but it didn't really work, or they didn't bother to come and help you, and the automatic doors never worked, so it was kind of propped open and you couldn't get in. So eventually, I think it took about 3 years in total to get them to actually fix it all, and then of course Morrison's took over, and then when they took over they didn't replace the doors or fix them, so they were broken yet again. And so it took probably monthly checking in with Morrison's head office saying, is this done yet? When are you going to get it done? And eventually it's when I went on one of the local TV channels and actually called them out on it, and within about a week they'd fixed it. But unfortunately was
it one of the radio stations locally that you went on? It might have been.
Yes, it definitely was. I think with the help of everywhere, I think collectively we kind of,
you shame them into doing something.
We did.
While we're on the subject of shaming into doing something, I'm looking across at the Shake Hut, which used to be, we won't mention where it was previously.
No.
However, they had many issues with accessibility and claimed they couldn't put a ramp down. What are we looking at now, Liz?
Well, we're looking at lovely level access. I think it's very much to do with the widening of the pavement, which is part of the High Street improvement. But yeah, they've got a very gradual, subtle slope into the shop, into the cafe, and yeah, that's all it needed. But yeah, it was quite hard to get the previous business to realise how important that was. But yeah, now it's great. I mean, you still kind of need help to get in because the door is quite heavy, but at least you can actually get in. So that's always a win.
So a year on, a lot has changed for the better. There's still some issues. Let's go and have some coffee in an accessible coffee shop, and we can talk about where we are now. Sitting having a coffee in an accessible coffee shop. Should we say what it's called, the Priory Cafe?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Liz rang the bell outside and doors open. We've been around, Liz. There was lots of issues last year with issues around the town. Nothing's perfect. Well, I've got to say, 12 months on, apart from the drop curb and a couple of other issues, there seems to be the pressure that you put on, the activism, the campaigning, certainly seems to be having the effect, and things are changing for the better. I just wonder if it's changing slower or faster than you thought.
Do you know, I don't know. I think probably faster maybe, because at the time it doesn't seem quite so quick, but now we've actually gone round and had a look, I'm like, oh, actually there is quite a lot. But when you're doing one thing at a time, I kind of feel like, oh, this is frustrating. But yeah, I think it's amazing, particularly as obviously we've also got the changing places, which is the other side of town, and the car park at Riverside. So yeah, it's like one end of town to the other, and slowly working. I mean, we've still got lots to do, but it's definitely a huge improvement, I think.
When we first went out, it was we ended up being very negative almost, because there was issues with the drop curbs, there was issues in the Cross Keys Mile, there was issues where someone had a ramp but it was the wrong type of ramp, and that was a nightmare. There was problems with disabled parking, there was problems with Morrison's door, there was problems outside Santander, there was problems with the tree roots, and you name it, there were issues.
Yeah.
But now we've seen that a lot of businesses now have added a bell. Some businesses have added, like Pink Rooster have actually did it off their own accord.
Yeah.
The Shake place has accessibility they didn't have before. Morrison's door now swings open. So without resting on laurels, I would say that this is in part down to yourself raising that profile, being on the case, and perhaps getting a slightly better profile, be it through radio, through television, all the other things you've done. I think you as a person have actually known how to campaign better and how to get things done. And I think that's the difference we've seen in a year. Would you say you've got better at moaning?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's a learning curve, and I've certainly in the last year equipped myself better with things like the law and what can and can't be done. And I think obviously making the contacts and connections and the publicity as well has massively helped through yourself with Black Cat, especially locally, because before it was just me banging on the people, but now we have got an army of people starting to come together to collectively moan, which, although I hate the word moan, but it's kind of, I suppose, raise awareness is
to highlight or raise awareness.
Yeah, because when I first started it and the town council said we just didn't know these problems existed, which I don't know how true that is, but if you don't point them out, people don't make changes and people don't realise that there is an issue, and then people start coming forward saying, well, I've had this issue, and now we get people posting on the page all the time about problems that they might encounter, which I can help with. So yeah.
And the other thing is, you also went out with councillors and highways people, and you couldn't give too much away about where these drop curbs are going in. However, the fact is there are drop curbs going in, and that's also a direct result of going out with highways and Stephen Ferguson, the councillor Stephen Ferguson, and seeing the problem.
Yeah, and I think they have learnt a lesson actually as well, because HDC have asked if I think that what we've reported is correct. So before they actually do the drop curbs, I want to make sure it's in the right place, which doesn't often happen.
I should say that I still personally am a little bit concerned that still issues like disabled parking and plans affecting people with mobility issues are going ahead without actually consulting the people who are most affected by them, or indeed put input into them how they can do them better.
Yeah, I think it's a tricky one, because we've got shops in the high street that are very new, and the council approved the plans even though the level access was taken away. That's not something that we want. So yeah, it's a tricky one, because things happen behind the scenes and planning and things like that for new businesses and parking and all these things, and they don't consult with anyone still, as far as I know, whereas that might be changing slightly with the county council rather than the district council, because me and along with other people are part of this 30th anniversary of the Disability Discrimination Act, and the county council actually want to get an access panel together made of volunteers, and so when there's big decisions being made, they actually go to these people, and they're like leaders of charities, leaders of community groups of all different disabilities and diversity and backgrounds and all that kind of stuff. I think every council should have one, to be honest. Even volunteers are happy to come forward. Some councils actually do pay for someone to be an access advisor, but I could probably count on one hand how many that is, so yeah, there's not a lot.